Greetings. Welcome to ITR Live. I'm your host, Chris Hagan. We are back here in Studio 130 for another fully staffed, action-packed episode of Iowa's premier conservative podcast. I'm joined here in studio with John Hendrickson and Chris Ingstad. Gentlemen, how are you today?
I'm doing fine.
You're doing fine?
Yeah.
Good.
I'm doing really well, Chris.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm having a great day so far.
Yeah.
I really am. So I think I'm planning on us having quite a bit to cover today. And I'm just excited. I'm going to spring a lot of it, guys, on a lot of this on you guys. You know, we didn't really prep for this today, mostly because I had no idea what this was going to consist of until about 15 minutes ago.
Also because lack of prep is kind of our MO.
Right. I feel like we do some of our best work and we just come in and hit record and just see what happens.
People are unvarnished takes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. I want to touch a little bit on just kind of some Christmas fun because it's our last episode that we're going to have out before Christmas. But I got to get past this tweet that I saw because last night, which does not have anything to do with Christmas, although the picture here on it is kind of fun. Because I want to go back to sports, John, because it's my goal to annoy you as much as possible with the sports takes. But I saw this, and this might be the greatest headline ever written.
Nope.
So this comes from the Daily Mail US. Here it is. Just work with me. Taylor Swift's whirlwind romance with quote unquote soulmate Travis Kelce. Now right there, it's already pretty awesome or pretty terrible.
And from what I know of each of those people from afar,
Yeah.
they really might be soulmates.
Yeah. And there's a picture of her smooching him on the cheek, and he's wearing some really like kind of tragic looking green hat with some Christmas lights in the background. Okay, so Taylor Swift's whirlwind romance with quote unquote soulmate Travis Kelce has produced 138 tons of CO2 emissions in 3 months.
Okay. Is that just from her flying to his
Yeah,
games?
they're just flying back and forth literally across the world to spend time with one another. And the takeaway that we need to follow in all that is not just how annoying the whole saga is, but just how much CO2 it's put into the.
Yeah.
I thought it was great, guys. I'm not getting much out of it. I thought that was just awful.
Where's the climate protesters?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Well, I feel it seems like that headline and probably the accompanying story was written like in all seriousness. Someone probably very sincerely started cranking away. Like, this is a problem and it's got to stop.
Well, someone did the math too.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, I mean that's impressive. So.
What a world.
Okay.
Western civilization's cracking further.
Yeah, all of the decay
Yeah.
that we've seen around us and the underpinnings of Western civilization, which are all but completely eroded. But what finally gets John is the Taylor Swift Travis Kelce romance.
They made her Time Magazine Person of the Year.
That doesn't surprise me. I'm going to blame her for the Kansas City Chiefs performances this year.
You know, I actually was talking to someone yesterday.
See, now John's in. See, we got him.
Yeah.
You just have to find the right hook. Yeah.
But I was talking with someone because I don't watch football, and I was talking with someone who does, and said the exact same thing, that that this has been a distraction, which has led to some bad plays by the.
It's apparently
the Chiefs.
distracted the rest of the Chiefs receivers.
Yeah,
because they're terrible.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask a very mundane Christmas media question because I just kind of want to get you guys' take on it. Favorite Christmas movie or the Christmas movie that you guys will watch the most at home or whatever? Because I'm going somewhere with this in a minute.
I mean,
do you have one?
I guess I would say Christmas Vacation.
Yeah. Yes. That's the easy one. We've only watched it twice now so far this Christmas at my house. My wife has a problem. She likes Christmas Vacation a lot. John, do you have a Christmas movie?
I do. I like.
Is it in color or black and white?
Well, it's in black and white.
Okay.
It's called Christmas in Connecticut.
Yes, I remember.
Yep.
We had this conversation before.
And then my second favorite is A Christmas Story.
Yeah. Those are standards.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a Christmas Vacation guy. I love the Christmas Chronicles, which is on Netflix. Love that one. Yeah. Just I don't know why. I just find it really clever and I enjoy it. So the perennial question usually revolves around whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie or not. And I don't want to have that conversation. But I had someone ask a question. Why was the Nakatomi Plaza Christmas party on Christmas Eve? And did these people not have any place else better to be? Have you ever been to a Christmas party on Christmas Eve?
No.
Especially a corporate one.
Yeah.
Now,
well, this could be the maybe the Davos crowd does this. The globalists.
It could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's again, it's about kind of undermining, traditions and institutions. We need to get back to the Davos stuff because we did not touch on that nearly enough this year, John.
No,
I'm aware of that.
Yeah.
I guess maybe I'm leaning on you to put some content together for us. But
remember that bumper sticker we saw about Davos, and it had the explosion.
Yeah,
and we weren't sure where they were.
Yeah,
we're coming from with
that.
Okay,
the best.
So, John, you're going to spend some time up north over Christmas. A return home. So here's my question for you. Have you followed the story of the Minnesota state flag?
I have, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was unaware of this whole debate until recently, and I saw that they'd actually picked a new one, or at least have gotten pretty close to a new one.
Oh.
So tell me about the old state flag in Minnesota, or the one, I guess, is the current state flag and what's wrong with it, or not so wrong with it.
It's really, again, goes back to the progressive woke attack on history, because they said the current flag was racist because it depicted a Native American Indian on there inappropriately. So they then decide that a commission needed to be formed to redraft the flag. And I think if they haven't changed the design, the new one has a loon in it, which is a state bird.
That's not what I saw.
No, that's not what I saw either.
Oh, they must have changed that then.
Well, neither one of us are native Minnesotans, so we must be right, and you're probably wrong. Yeah. That's
I've not seen that one. The one I saw had a loon in it.
Yeah.
But could you show me that again?
So
that's awful.
Well, just hold on, John. I don't think you understand the symbolism from your beloved state. It's the North Star.
Yeah.
Remember when the North Stars were in Minnesota, now they're in Dallas?
Yeah.
Okay. And then this is like the shape of Minnesota here, John.
Yeah.
On the side. This is roughly the shape of Minnesota.
Oh, okay, kind of.
But that
has a name. That's the tricolor Polaris. Yeah, that's the name of that flag. But continue, John.
Well, I was just I'll have to look at, because the one I saw had a loon design. Maybe that was one that was under consideration. But the current flag, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, it depicted in a sense
a Native American on horseback, and riding away from a white farmer in the foreground.
Yes, yeah.
I suppose one could, given some of Minnesota's history on Native American relations, could arrive at that conclusion. But your point stands.
Yeah,
yeah.
But it was, it was a reflection of the settlement of the state.
Yeah,
and there were some controversy. I mean, there was the big Sioux uprising of 1862, but that was the fault of the Sioux. I mean, they were the ones that revolted and went on a rampage on attacking settlements.
So if you're on YouTube or Rumble watching us live, hopefully I'll be able to add pictures of this stuff for us to look at. And I wish you'd seen. So Chris held up for John the tricolor Polaris, which is like white and navy and a tealish color.
And I couldn't find what the colors represented yet. So,
okay, I have an idea of what they might represent, though, with just a star on the left hand side. Minnesota being the
North Star,
the North Star state. I want you to Google and look up the Somali flag.
Well, it is a star on a blue field.
Let me see it. Yeah, that's maybe a different one. Maybe it was a different one that I found, but it had those same three colors on the side with one star on it.
Yeah.
Would you be okay with that?
No.
Replacing the current Minnesota flag with a takeoff of a Somali flag?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I again, I think this is just another consequence of the left attacking history and trying to rewrite history. And
on the same day that we tear down a monument at Arlington National Cemetery.
Over lunch, I saw that a court has put a halt to that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so, and then I saw another headline that Governor Youngkin has asked if it's removed, if it can be located on the campus of VMI, the Virginia Military Institute. So at least...
Well, that actually might if it's going to come down, that might actually be a...
Yeah, so at least it won't be melted down like they did to Robert E. Lee's statue secretly.
Yeah.
And, but I think this is, as we were talking about this in pre-production, and I know people will probably disagree with me, but I think this is just a travesty of what's going on. I mean, this whole thing that started in 2020 with the BLM and tearing down statues and just the attack on our history, it's just very troublesome.
Well, you made a point earlier, John, that and have before about it almost feels like an effort to erase history.
Yes.
And specifically with the Civil War monuments, is that those are monuments to Reconstruction and sort of a restoration and a healing more than they were to those soldiers themselves. Now, Chris has a different take on that, which is absolutely a very strong take as well about what the Civil War was actually about. And maybe we've arrived at a point where we don't want or need those statues anymore. I think we can probably argue both sides of that one, but
probably not for the listener.
Probably not for the listener. But anyway, I just wanted to get you going about Minnesota.
So by the way, that the flag that you're referring to is the flag of, and I might pronounce it incorrectly here, Jubaland or the Juba Valley.
That's right.
Which is a state within Somalia. So,
and if you know your Somali, it's kind of a failed state anyway. So the territories and regions are
and there's a huge community of those.
Yeah, of Jubaland in the Twin Cities, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
But I mean, Minnesota has just really gone off the deep end with embracing radical, extreme legislation, not just from a tax and budget perspective, but social and cultural extremism. Cultural Marxism is on the run there.
I think my takeaway from all of it, John, is I really just want to start making fun of Minnesota more. Because, and not to make you feel bad, although it does kind of put you on the spot, which I kind of get a kick out of. But
John knows we're very pro Iron Range here.
Yes.
It's okay.
But I really do think that it is worthwhile to compare and contrast Iowa with our neighbors to the north.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that we can lean into going forward. So that having been said, so I wanted to, I guess one piece of substantive Iowa information is Iowa House Republicans today unveiled their list of priorities for the coming legislative session. So I thought we could take a look at that real quick. I don't know. Did you guys see this at all yet?
I did not, no.
So I guess by way of background, the way this works is there's usually one or two what we call caucus meetings, not to be confused with the presidential caucuses, that the different parties and chambers at the Capitol have. So this would have been a meeting yesterday, and I believe both House and Senate Republicans caucused yesterday, would have been separate meetings. But if you're not familiar with that, so House Republicans will go into one room and they have a planning caucus and go through issues, presentations on things like the budget, different possible issues that might come up during, because they're here, everybody's sort of hearing from constituents and what some of the issues are going to be. And so the House Republican Caucus released, here's sort of the highlights of what came out of their caucus meeting. And I appreciate them for actually releasing this to give a little bit of a roadmap of where they might be wanting to go this year. So that would kind of click through this. Now, I'm gonna skip ahead just a little bit because there's one piece in here that I think we need to highlight that is, I think, very good. And it's in the third paragraph entitled, there's four kind of main highlights, which are improving education outcomes, maintaining a safe and secure Iowa, ensuring Iowa's strong economy, and keeping government transparent and efficient. So the third one, ensuring Iowa's strong economy, Bidenomics has hit Iowans' pocketbooks hard. Iowans need relief now. Thanks to a decade of responsible budgeting led by Iowa House Republicans, our state is in a position to deliver significant tax relief that Iowans can feel the impact of immediately. I think that's good. I mean, I'm glad they're talking about tax relief, and we've kind of had indications that they are. I think there's a couple things in here that I'd like to get some more information on. Chris?
Yes.
There's a word in here that is, I want to give them credit. It's significant tax relief. I truly believe that they are serious about putting together a meaningful tax bill this year.
There's a word in there that makes me nervous too, Chris.
Which one's that one?
Immediately.
Immediately. What worries you about that?
We've seen proposals in Iowa in the past, and we've seen proposals actually enacted across the country in other states that aim to deliver immediate relief. And in a sense, it is immediate relief, but it's very short-sighted and short-lived. And by trying to get it done immediately comes at the expense of long-term sustainable tax relief. And I don't know what they're planning, and I don't want to put words in their mouths, and I'm not even going to try to guess, in fairness. But we'll want to look at what they do.
Yep.
I believe their heart's in the right place. They want to do something. That is wonderful. Let's just make sure that whatever they do is sustainable and long-term, not something that's short-lived, and within a year or two, that relief is up in smoke.
Yep. I think that's right. John, when we talked about the income tax piece that you'd put together, and we talked about that, actually came out yesterday, the accelerate part of that. Now, that could be the immediate part here, right?
That potentially could be a real good way to go about it.
Yeah. Now, if the thing is just cutting checks out of taxpayer relief fund, well, no, that's probably not what we'd like to see. But if is that right? I mean, because that could be seen as an immediate if they wanted to make it immediate for tax year 2024, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they mean immediate, and by immediate, if they mean that they've got something that's long-term and sustainable and they want to get it going right now because they're synced up on the man, that is fantastic.
Yep. I agree. And I think thanks to a decade of responsible budgeting led by Iowa House Republicans, I think we're going on 10, 12, 13 years now and we've said this over and over, John, they are absolutely right. This is all built on responsible management of the state budget.
That's right.
Yeah. And so I think they get that part right here as well.
This seems like a good time to remind everybody of when I was talking to a legislator about tax relief, and that legislator very wisely said to me, something along those lines, what's the point of all this, holding the reins in on spending if you're not going to turn around and do tax relief?
Really?
Yep. It was one of the best things a legislator ever said. Yep.
Somebody needs to give that legislator a raise.
They should. Yeah.
Anyway, so I think that's good. I have a couple questions about that, the direction they want to go. But indications is that this is about the income tax and is going to line up with some of what John's talked about in his piece, and I think what the governor is going to lead on in the Senate. Obviously, there will be differences in how they want to approach that in some pieces, but
and that's good. I mean,
it is. There should be a healthy debate about that.
If we understand we're coming here with different ideas and we want to collaborate, then that is fine and probably shapes the package nicely. I mean, sometimes it's even better if everybody gets synced up and on the same page from the get-go, but it is okay if we're all trying to get to the same spot and have a slightly different idea about how to get there. That is fine, and let the system work.
Agreed. Okay, so let's go back here. So the lead piece here in this list, and I don't know if they meant to rank these, but it's what comes first, improving education outcomes. This session will dive into Iowa's K-12 education standards to ensure they're setting our students and teachers up for success. We'll also continue to empower teachers and get them the disciplinary tools and compensation they deserve. I will tell you, I've heard that not just from House Republicans, that there is an interest in looking at teacher compensation this year. Obviously, that's an appropriation. It costs money. Then moving on, our higher education system has clearly lost focus on its true mission nationwide. Session, they'll continue our work to ensure Iowa's higher education institutions are focused on preparing students to fill the jobs most needed here in Iowa, and so on. Thoughts on that?
Well, I think the devil's in the details, as they would say, and I mean, one issue I think I hear a lot about from people who are involved in public schools is not necessarily lack of funds, but the overarching concern is discipline. And so I'd be very interested to see how they approach that issue. I think standards is another thing. One thing I think we need more you want to call it rigorous standards, especially in the area of civic education, I think. And so I'm not sure where they're looking at there. But the other thing I think we need to be cautious about is just the temptation to spend and throw money at these problems, because it just doesn't always translate into better policy. And so my concern with that, and also in other areas, just like mental health, is that it's very easy to just start appropriating money and throwing it at this area and not really know if it's actually working. And so I think those are good concerns to have.
I think I agree too, John. If the idea is we need better educational outcomes, so let's appropriate more money in the educational system. That's where I really have a problem. And I think that's typically been the argument from Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
More money equals better outcomes, so let's give more money. I think if we go a step further, and I'm maybe reading between the lines a little bit, because it's more than just House Republicans that are talking about this. The problem isn't that we're not appropriating money for educational outcomes. It's that we don't have enough teachers. And so is how do we get more teachers into the profession, and how do we retain more teachers?
Yeah.
Well, that probably you can draw a much straighter line. And I'm not even advocating for more money for teacher pay, because I still have some reservations about that. But I think that is a much more tenable position, that money will equal the result that you're looking for. I mean, if you get paid more, you're more likely to stay in that.
Probably.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the discipline thing comes in,
Yes.
because there's a lot of people that are not going into the field, or actually choosing early retirement, or actually outright leaving the profession because of how you hear some of the stories of some of the discipline problems in schools, and it's pretty alarming.
Yeah. This next piece on maintaining a safe and secure Iowa, it's sort of a law and order bit on repeat offenders off the streets, deter violent smash and grab mobs you've seen take over cities in other states. I think that's fine. This is one where I sometimes don't always take the hardcore conservative approach to something, is that it's not always just stronger criminal penalties equals the outcome you want. But anyway, I'm curious to see what they've got on that one. Support for law enforcers and value protection for them. Legislature's got a pretty strong track record over the past several years of defending law enforcement. I suspect you'll see some more things on that. Keeping government transparent and efficient. This is the last one. So I'm going to read this for you guys too. Iowans expect a transparent state government that works for them. This session will prioritize government efficiency by working to modernize outdated IT systems and ensure government agencies make their tools and information easy to access and understand.
Well, those are two different things.
Yeah, they are a little bit.
Easy to access is one thing. Easy to understand is another.
Yeah. I actually think there could be some stuff in here that would really be kind of cool for people like us. More data, easier to access. I mean, maybe it's not in tax and fiscal policy, but I think anything that gets that information, that data out there, or allows government, the places where the private sector needs to access government to work better.
Yeah.
Look, IT stuff can be expensive, but
yes,
there could be some cool stuff in there, because we know that there are places where they can do better.
Yeah. I wonder if this is going to be kind of building upon the state government efficiency bill that passed this session, because I think I was sharing with both of you that when I was at the ITA conference, Director Paulson was sharing with us, some of the things they're doing with making more efficiencies within things like IT and various things of, weeding out duplication and making sure that training programs are we don't have 25 different training programs. And so I think that might be another building upon those reforms, which is a very good idea.
Yep. Yeah. I'm certain it probably dovetails nicely with a lot of that. Hey, Chris, I read that release earlier today too, and we only went through about half of the economy piece. We got derailed
No,
on
you're
taxes,
right. Thanks, sir. We got back up.
But they did talk about sort of the regulatory burden on small
Mm-hmm.
businesses and want to ease that or make it easier to start a business or come forth
Right.
with a new idea. And that is good stuff, too. We certainly work on some of those issues as well. As John points out, regulations are kind of a red tape tax. And so we're interested to see what they want to do on that front, too. We've got some ideas. I know we've had conversations with legislators. So, look, that agenda is that sounds like a good agenda.
Yeah.
Again, you can take a good policy idea and implement it in a way that's not so good, but on the surface, there's a lot of good things to work with there.
I think there are some things in here that will cost money.
Yeah.
And we have said this before, although we obviously are going to be wary of new spending, but at the same time, we acknowledge that the legislature has had a very strong track record of modest growths in spending and doing it all in a balanced, measured manner. And there's that tension of, well, how much are we going to do? When are we going to do it? And maybe it's repurposing existing resources. We've seen that sometimes. You just, we don't need this project, we need this, and so it comes out even. So they're the ones, we've talked about this too, they're the ones that are hearing from all of Iowans, or at least all the people in their communities and their districts. We talk to our members. ITR members want lower taxes, so we advocate for that. In different groups, the NFIB is going to hear from folks that maybe they're on the regulatory, although we're on that issue too. What impacts small business? Well, NFIB is going to know about that because that's who they hear from. But those legislators hear from everyone, and so they're the ones that have to balance that. And if these are the issues that they are hearing the most about, well, then those are the issues that they should address. So, yeah, I think we look forward to seeing more details and all that. And going forward, obviously, we'll get the governor will have some things she rolls out. Most of them will probably come on her speech.
And the Senate will have their
priorities.
priorities.
The Senate will have priorities as well, and we'll go over those when those come out as well. But I think this is the first real. I don't know if it's very high level, but real nuts and bolts, somewhat substantive release over what the actual agenda is. And I think it was worth going through.
Yeah.
So Merry Christmas to us, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. All right. John, did you have any other notes, anything that was not at? Yeah, this is your last chance to kind of get on record before you go, and you can tell Alfred yourself.
Yeah,
this is the last chance to tell him remotely.
That's right.
Okay.
But I saw an article late last week about where we could be in a lot worse situation where California has froze spending because of their budget is such a disaster, and so that again that's another evidence of the people that are been highly critical of the governor and this legislature for supposedly not spending enough. We're actually doing the right thing in this state, and California has raised taxes on people.
Yeah,
they have spent recklessly, and what's happened is they've lost tons of people. There's a mass exodus going, and now they're in a huge budget crisis. And Minnesota, same thing.
No, I think that's right.
So
I believe if memory serves, we're still, unless the legislature does something crazy, we'll still be budgeting less than 90% of ongoing revenue. So while other states are struggling just to balance it, we're only spending 90 cents out of every dollar. That's significant, and that's what makes all these things possible and makes Iowa so strong. All right, well, that's all I got. Appreciate it.
I'm gonna make a prediction.
Oh, John, okay, this is your chance. This is
2024.
Here's John's 2020. We're going to come back next week on this. But
talk about burying the lead, though, here.
Yeah, I know. Okay.
Governor Reynolds will be ranked number 1 again when the Cato Institute releases their fiscal policy report card on the nation's governors this coming fall.
That's great. That'd be 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my prediction.
Okay. Well, another round of income tax cuts would cement that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure where he was going with that prediction, by the way.
Yeah.
No,
it could have been
news.
could have been just about anything at that point. All right. Well, good. I like it. So Chris and I are going to hold off on ours for next year. I've got a few in mind, but I want to make sure that I got something good. So, all right. Well, gentlemen, thanks a lot. all of you out there, thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe, tell your friends, and have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and whatever you're doing. And with that, we will see you next time on ITR Live.